In a Texas hospital, babies are dying.
Come on, quick! I kept thinking that he's going to get better.
And what appears to be a mysterious epidemic may in fact be murder.
And fire. This child was going to die if I didn't do something.
Only medical science can identify the colorless, odorless killer and neutralize the lethal dosage. San Antonio, Texas, 1981. At the county hospital, the Pediatric Intensive Care Unit, or PICU, was considered state-of-the-art. A small, intimate ward, the PICU was reserved for the hospital's youngest, sickest patients. The county's most vulnerable children.
What's going on? He's not breathing.
Maggie.
Christopher Hogeda was one such patient.
Never mind.
The 15-month-old had been in and out of hospitals for much of his young life, fighting off infections, pneumonia, and hepatitis.
Okay. Got it? Yep.
His condition had been considered unstable, though doctors marveled at the boy's ability to bounce back.
Epi's in. No response.
Get the crash cart now.
Out to the bed.
He was a blue baby when he was born. He had several things wrong with him. He had a enlarged heart. His bronchial tubes were too large. He had a hole in his heart. But he was still surviving. He wanted to live so badly.
All right, everybody clear?
Stand clear. All clear.
What do we have?
Charging.
In May, the boy suffered a cardiac arrest.
Nothing. Nothing.
All right, everybody clear?
Christopher's parents were called to the hospital late that evening. They lived in a small working-class town, 250 miles away.
We got the call that he was not doing good. So my husband had made arrangements to find a car, and we were driving very fast. All we knew was that we wanted to be there with him.
The Hogedas had transferred their son to the county hospital several months earlier, hoping his chances would improve at the high-tech medical center. The young couple was exhausted. They had made the long drive countless times before.
I kept thinking that he's going to get better. And I just prayed every day, every single day.
But the little boy did not recover as his parents had hoped.
I'm going to call it. Time of death is 12:45.
Christopher Hogeda died on May 21st, 1981.
And when we walked in, we were, of course, our palms were all sweaty, thinking, maybe he's pulled out this time again.
I got a phone call from Genene saying something was wrong with Christopher.
Yes, let me get the doctor for you. I'll be right back. Okay.
His parents' concern grew as they walked to their son's room in the pediatric ward.
This time we saw that there was no lights in the room, and it was very quiet. We knew that, okay, this is it. He really is gone.
For staffers like Dr. Lawrence Hughes, then a pediatric intern, the death was frustrating, but not unexpected.
He was a very, very sick child, complex cardiac problems and all that, and so I understood that, but it was still hard. It's difficult to watch a baby die. I mean, everybody expects babies to live, you know, So then you have to regroup and you say, well, now I have to go tell the parents. You look them in the eye and typically they can tell. They're reacting already. They know. They're looking for hope, but typically they can tell what's going on.
It was like shock. I couldn't believe it. You know, I thought my son had a chance to live. I wanted a miracle.
Nurse Genene Jones stood by as doctors mentioned they could perform an autopsy to determine the exact cause of death, if the family desired one. The Hogedas felt their son had suffered enough.
I said, no, we don't need him to be cut up again. What for? I mean, let him be at rest. Let him be peaceful. He's gone. We got him a little suit, a little blue suit, and we put on some shoes. He could walk in God's world.
Christopher Hogeda's death weighed heavily on the ICU staff.
It's difficult. I don't think you ever get over that. It might become a little easier. Your shell might get a little thicker, but it's the most difficult thing to do.
In San Antonio, spring turned to summer, and Christopher Hogeda's death faded into memory. By August, new patients like Lisa Rivera consumed the attention of the pediatric staff. Little Lisa was only 3 weeks old, suffering from chronic diarrhea and vomiting, when her parents brought her to the hospital.
What's going on?
She's in VTech.
At first, she appeared stable. Her illness was minor, and doctors expected her to recover.
Blood pressure's still going down, 55 over 30.
Even though you knew enough medicine to sort of predict things, and disease processes particularly usually take a certain course, all of a sudden out of the blue something would happen that you just couldn't explain.
Status?
She began to ooze blood from her IV sites.
Give me the back. I want epinephrine now.
Her blood pressure dropped, and then her heart stopped beating completely.
Pushing it. Keep me crash guard.
When drugs like epinephrine failed to jumpstart her heart, Nurse Genene Jones and doctors resorted to a defibrillator.
You got a full rest?
Full arrest. Mark note, full arrest.
The paddles shocked the baby's heart.
No blood pressure.
Reset. Clear.
Clear.
And firing. Status.
Nothing.
Okay, one more time. Full charge.
Okay. Defibrillator's charged.
And firing. Anything?
Nothing.
Time of death.
Lisa Rivera was the 8th child to die in just 3 months. The fatality rate, which had been on the rise since the death of Christopher Hogeda, at first seemed like a run of bad luck.
Patients are sick in the ICU. They're very sick sometimes. And sometimes deaths occur in clusters. You don't average one death a week in a place where patients are sick. Sometimes you have several people die, and then you don't have anybody die for months.
But staff members had begun to notice something odd. Children who seemed on the path to recovery one day were inexplicably deteriorating the next.
But after a while, you just get more suspicious. I took it personal, and I just really had a sixth sense, like, there's something going wrong here.
Everything about the victims appeared random, except for one thing. It had to do with the afternoon change in shift. Every day at 3 o'clock, a new set of doctors and nurses took over patients and case files from the morning crew. Many children appeared fine early in the day, but those who took a sudden turn for the worse only did so after 3 o'clock. In fact, since Christopher Hogeda's death, almost every code blue in the PICU had occurred late in the day on the 3 to 11 p.m. shift. Dr. Kenneth Copeland was an attending physician on the ward.
I don't think I fully grasped the gravity of it. The director of the pediatric ICU at County Hospital spoke to me and said, keep your eyes open. Let's be aware of whether or not this is mere coincidental or something more serious.
It was horrible because each time you inherited those patients for the evening, you didn't know what to expect. It was sort of like you were waiting for an ambush.
The time for waiting was through. Doctors would have to determine what was making the children so sick and fast, or more babies would continue to die. In the summer of 1981, children at the county hospital in San Antonio, Texas, were dying in mysterious ways. They suffered from strange seizures and bleeding episodes that seemed to come out of nowhere. The hospital staff, used to resuscitating 3 or 4 young patients a month, had handled 9 CPR events in August, 13 in September. By fall, the death rate was up 75%.
The frequency of morbid events or events that injure people in the ICU seem to be somewhat more frequent than you'd expect. Even though you're in an ICU setting and patients are sick, it seemed like there were incidences where it didn't appear to be a reasonable explanation.
Doctors at the hospital were determined to solve the mystery.
There are not too many causes of unexplained bleeding in a baby, especially one that has been doing fine and then suddenly bleeds with no apparent reason.
There seemed to be only one possible medical explanation. The sudden bleeding could be caused by a rare blood clotting disorder known as disseminated intravascular coagulation, or DIC.
We don't know exactly what causes DIC, but it is associated with both clotting, where there should not be clotting, and paradoxical bleeding, where there should not be bleeding.
Patients with DIC can bleed from injection sites or experience blood clots, which block the flow of fluids and other medication.
I'll be right back. Go back up here.
The condition is serious. Treatment, however, is routine.
Tried everything else and nothing worked.
Physicians often prescribed heparin, a drug used to flush out blood clots in IV lines.
Heparin is a common agent that you would find in virtually any intensive care unit. It's a wonderful drug when used properly because it prevents clotting when you don't want clotting to occur.
Nothing there, it's all magic.
Clots in IV lines were commonplace, so all hospital wards had abundant supplies of heparin on hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, flow is back. Great.
To identify the culprit, a series of blood tests was ordered to establish whether patients were suffering from DIC.
We drew the appropriate diagnostic tests for DIC, and at this point they came back inconclusive.
Without a definite diagnosis, doctors' hands were tied. It would have been imprudent to prescribe heparin to patients who might not need it.
And at very tiny doses used to flush these catheters, it's very, very, very safe and usually does not cause any systemic problem to the baby's body or course. On the other hand, at very high doses, heparin can be life-threatening or fatal.
On October 15th, Roberto Sanchez was brought to County Hospital. He was just 3 months old. Roberto was recuperating from a bout of diarrhea, dehydration, and a chemical imbalance.
Can you come in here a minute?
In the 3 days since the boy's admission, doctors had been called to his bedside twice, each time after 3 p.m.
The line and it's clotted. He's bleeding everywhere.
I can see that.
And the line is clotted.
Each time, the boy was found bleeding from puncture sites, where needles or IVs had been placed. One IV line also appeared clogged.
Have you tried giving a saline flush?
Yes.
How about a head flush?
I'm getting ready to do that right now.
Following standard procedure, Nurse Genene Jones began filling a syringe with heparin.
Genene was a highly opinionated, brash, abrasive, but incredibly talented nurse.
I was impressed with her skills, especially her technical skills. She was very good at starting IVs on little babies.
What we're getting ready to do here.
But Dr. Larry Hujas stopped her before she flushed out the line.
The IV line. How much of that are you giving?
3 cc's.
3 cc's.
I approached her and I said, are you sure you're using the right dose of heparin? Because we've had a couple patients bleed in the unit. And she abruptly said to me that, well, I'm using a lot less heparin than you're using.
Are you sure?
I'm absolutely positive.
So I proved it to her. I showed her on a sheet. I remember drawing out the calculations.
1 cc, just as I thought.
And I said, well, you could very easily heparinize this baby by giving a very small amount. The stuff that you're using in that thing could heparinize somebody that weighs 3 kilograms.
Draw that back down to 1 cc. Put it in there.
I was kind of shocked. I was like, with all the experience she's had with heparin, she should have known.
The head nurse was informed of the incident. The nurse in question was Genene Jones, an LVN, or licensed vocational nurse. Typically, ICU wards were run by registered nurses, but at San Antonio, both RNs and LVNs ran the wards.
Registered nurses, RNs, had far more experience and training than most LVNs.
The head nurse explained that the error was a simple miscalculation.
Why don't you sit down? We need to have a conversation about what's been going on overall. I've been looking at all the records and all the...
But it pointed to an issue that was much more troubling and complex.
But I want everything from medication to the patient double-checked.
Doctors had observed the nursing staff on the 3 to 11 shift making an increasing number of mistakes.
You know, how many times can you be surprised until you start saying, well, what's the pattern here? What's going on? Or is it lack of training? Is it, you go through a process. There was a total review. I mean, we discussed a bunch of medications that may cause some of the things that were happening in the unit. There was very strict rules implemented for most medications.
According to new procedures, amounts of heparin were reduced and nurses were required to administer the drug in pairs to prevent any errors.
Dr. President, ER, please.
You depend on those nurses. They're watching the patient while you're not there.
Good boy.
They're taking care of the orders that you've written for that patient. So you depend pretty heavily on the nurses. So they're involved as much or if not more with the families and the care of these patients.
Was it possible the drug had been tampered with during the manufacturing process? Lab technicians measured concentrations found in any unopened bottles. The drugs were safe.
definitely pure.
IV tubes, syringes, and other equipment were also gathered and tested for bacterial contamination. But they too were found to be clean.
It got to the point with me that it started becoming personal, that it was like it was something I needed to figure out. I mean, because you're responsible for those patients, and it's sort of inbred into you as a training physician. I mean, it's your responsibility. I took it very personally.
For Dr. Hughes and his colleagues, there were two likely scenarios. Either an exotic disease was plaguing the pediatric ward, or human error was to blame. They were desperate to find the answer before the ward went empty and there were no more patients left to save. In a San Antonio County hospital, patients were dying in unexpectedly large numbers. From May to October 1981, the pediatric ICU, or PICU, had lost 18 patients. All but one had died during the same 3 to 11 p.m. shift.
I was extremely suspicious, and I got to the point where whenever I had my shift, I didn't go to the call rooms to sleep. I actually slept in the ICU. I said, well, the only way I'm going to watch everything close enough is I'm going to sleep here.
Pedro Madera was rushed to the hospital on December 27th.
Please.
His family came from a poor farming community 1 hour south of San Antonio. A local health clinic there had diagnosed the infant with a cold and sent the parents home. Instead, they drove to the city. Pedro was having trouble breathing, and his parents were concerned. The boy was just 1 month old.
The admitting diagnosis was pneumonia, and he was on antibiotics and required respiratory support with a ventilator. And this was fairly typical. Most children would respond to treatment, recover, and go home within 3, 4, 5 days.
But Pedro was not so lucky. After a few good days in which the infant showed improvement, he suddenly suffered a seizure. After being stabilized, Pedro underwent a brain scan on December 29th. The radiology report found nothing abnormal in the boy's brain, nothing to explain the seizure.
For the next several days, he seemed to improve and get better until January the 6th. And at that point, suddenly, for no explainable reason, he deteriorated, this time by bleeding excessively.
As with the other babies, Pedro's blood was tested for the rare blood clotting disorder known as DIC. Lab tests came back with the same result as before, inconclusive for DIC.
The other causes of unexplained bleeding in a baby that has otherwise been normal are really very few. And at the top of the list was heparin.
Heparin was stored in large amounts throughout the ward.
It's possible that this child was receiving accidental heparin by flushing his arterial line. My solution was to remove the arterial line, because by so doing, we also eliminate the possibility that he could be receiving heparin as an accidental process.
Blood pressure dropping, 50/30.
On January 9th, while under the care of Genene Jones, Pedro's condition worsened once again.
I found this baby in dire circumstances, near death, bleeding like the previous time, but to a much, much more massive in extent. This time the baby was bleeding from all of the old puncture wounds, from heel sticks where blood had been obtained, actually from all mucous membranes, the eyes, the nose, the ears, the genitalia, anywhere you would touch on tender tissue would be bleeding.
If the hemorrhaging was not stopped, Pedro would bleed to death within minutes.
The blood pressure was falling, and this baby, despite receiving IV fluids and blood products, we were getting behind and losing this baby.
Blood pressure's dropping even further, doctor.
There was only one option, only one drug that could save little Pedro.
Protamine is a very specific antagonist to heparin. Wherever heparin is, protamine comes along and completely neutralizes its ability to prevent clotting.
But doctors faced a serious dilemma. There was no way to know for certain if heparin was the cause of the bleeding. And protamine could do more harm than good.
Small doses of protamine are fairly innocuous, but large doses are very dangerous.
Pressure 30 over 25, doctor.
An overdose could further injure or even kill the child.
It was very clear in my mind that if I was wrong, it could be disastrous. But I really had no choice.
The doctor drained an entire bottle of protamine, 100 milligrams, and injected it into the baby.
Nothing happened. At that point, of course, I was scared to death. I was certain that I had made a foolish decision. At that point, I ordered the second vial, knowing that babies after open heart surgery require far less than one vial.
Okay, keep an eye on reading.
He pushed the drug slowly into the boy's system. 10 milligrams, 15 milligrams, then 20.
And bingo, the bleeding stopped.
We've got a better blood pressure, doctor. 90 over 60. Seeing some
I've often
improvement.
thought about why I did it and if I would do it again, and I truly don't know. I just knew that this child was going to die if I didn't do something.
Pulse looks a lot stronger, and he's breathing.
He also knew that the child was still in danger as long as he stayed on the ward. Copeland ordered that the boy be transferred to a pediatric ward on another floor.
I was very suspicious, not certain, but quite suspicious that there was something happening to my baby of a malicious intent.
Copeland ordered a hematology report. As suspected, there was something strange present in Pedro's blood.
The amount of heparin that had been infused was in the order of magnitude of 100-fold more than one would give to a baby for open heart surgery.
This was no mysterious illness, no elusive germ or accidental overdose. It was attempted murder, plain and simple. The hospital staff found it hard to believe that someone, anyone, on the 3 to 11 shift was deliberately killing babies.
You go through medical school, typically nobody's mentioning, okay, number 5, you've got to watch the staff, they're trying to kill somebody. It's not something you think of. Your gut says that nobody would do this.
Seat, please.
Administrators conducted an internal investigation.
Please tell me exactly what you have found about what's going on here.
Heparin, they realized, was the perfect weapon. It was virtually undetectable in the body.
There are heparin vials in virtually every room in an intensive care unit. It was so common and spread throughout the unit that there was no specific accounting, or little specific accounting, for where each vial was.
Here we have
The investigation became heated.
I've asked
Doctors blamed nurses.
and put together a schedule.
RNs accused LVNs.
Turned into the most horrific situation I've ever been associated with. I mean, how much worse can it get than that?
I hate to tell you this, but it's...
After a month, with evidence of only one heparin overdose and no proof as to how the other children died, the investigation was closed.
That's right. It's not doing any
Administrators felt they could do little but reorganize the staff. They brought in more RNs and transferred all licensed vocational nurses out of the PICU.
Stock it with RNs.
Right.
I suspected that my babies and the other babies would be safer now in the unit. And in fact, as time played out, that was the case.
Many were less than satisfied with the committee's decision. Dr. Susan Wilder took the opportunity to move on and build a practice of her own. And others, like nurse Genene Jones, quit the hospital in protest. Jones was an LVN who felt angered and betrayed by the administration's handling of the case. She soon found work, however, with Dr. Wilder in her new practice outside the city. In March 1982, months later, the mysterious events in San Antonio ceased, and the children of county hospitals seemed secure.
The frequency of code blues deteriorated dramatically, and the number of deaths deteriorated rapidly following that reorganization.
The question was, how long would that last? In less than a year, babies in Texas would once again fall prey to mysterious seizures, and physicians would face rumors of undetectable poisons and murder. 5 months after the strange events at a San Antonio hospital seemed to end, Dr. Susan Wilder moved to a small town outside the city. She opened what was considered to be a state-of-the-art pediatrics practice. Word of Wilder's arrival had spread quickly among the young mothers in town. Patty McClellan had been eager to meet the newly trained young doctor.
Do you think that you could be a big boy and open your mouth really wide, Cameron?
Cameron, my son, who was 4 at the time, was sick, and I knew he was running fever, bad cough, and we took him in.
Patty also brought along her younger child, 15-month-old Chelsea.
Actually, can you get Chelsea right there on that cabinet? Genene?
Yes, doctor.
I was wondering, actually, Genene here.
Dr. Wilder told her nurse, Genene Jones, to take Chelsea to another room to get caught up on her booster shots.
Go ahead, her records are right in there. Just go ahead and get her up to date, okay? Great, thanks. And you ready to finish?
Jones had also come from the county hospital in San Antonio. Nurse Jones had only been alone with the child for a few minutes when she called for Dr. Wilder.
So I went down the hallway, and they were doing a full code on her. She wasn't breathing, she was limp, she was discolored.
It was not the first time that paramedics had been called to the young doctor's office.
It was just like something in me saying, there's just something not right. I had worked EMS for a long, long time.
In 1 month, 6 children had suffered seizures while under Wilder's care.
I worked many calls, but you don't have the same consistent calls in a short period of time. And I thought that was pretty darn odd.
The 5 other children had recovered, but would Chelsea? She was rushed to Sid Peterson Hospital, a few minutes away.
It was terrifying. You know, it was like, how could this possibly happen? It was really overwhelming. It was hard to digest what was happening and how it could have happened, and it happened so fast.
Once Chelsea's condition had stabilized, Dr. Wilder ordered her transferred to the county hospital in San Antonio.
We're going to transport this baby to San Antonio.
They know we're coming in.
She felt it would be better equipped to handle the unusual case.
She looked real tired, but she was fine. I mean, she knew who we were, and she was babbling, and she just looked tired.
Chelsea's parents followed Dr. Wilder and the ambulance as it raced against time. But along the way, ambulance driver Steve Brown had a strange sensation.
I felt that something just wasn't right. And we wasn't probably 15 miles out, and all of a sudden I heard things kind of scattering in the back, moving, and so I looked up in the rearview mirror, and I knew something was wrong at that point. I got out and I ran to the back, and again the baby was in complete respiratory arrest.
I don't feel a pulse.
What are you doing? What's going on?
Jones couldn't detect a heartbeat. Chelsea had flatlined and wasn't responding to chest compressions. Without immediate help, nothing could save her. There was no way she'd make it to San Antonio, not alive. She needed to get to an ER, any ER, and fast.
I was pretty much lost at that point because it wasn't routine anymore. You know, I mean, it wasn't, there was something very deadly and very seriously wrong.
Within minutes, paramedics reached a tiny community hospital in the small town of Comfort, Texas, where doctors were awaiting their arrival. Genene Jones took command of the situation, barking out orders and fighting to save the girl's life.
Let's get her hooked up, come on.
She was in charge. She was in control.
Let's get this gurney out of here, come on.
There was nothing for Petty and Reed McClellan to do but wait.
I knew she's gone. I mean, they worked on her for a long time, but I knew she's gone.
Chelsea Ann McClellan died on September 17th, 1982.
And they said they could see her. And you go with it, you know, you go through, no, I'm just going to take her home. She's fine. She's just sleeping. She wasn't.
News of Chelsea McClellan's death reverberated throughout the small medical community. Dr. Joseph Vinus, a surgeon at Sid Peterson Hospital, was asked to look into the strange events. 6 respiratory arrests in 1 month just didn't make sense.
There was never an arrest in a doctor's office prior to that time. So I offered to help, and that's how I got acquainted with it.
Vinus called a friend at San Antonio's county hospital, hoping to gain information about the town's new pediatrician, Dr. Susan Wilder.
He said, she may be a little easy to rattle, but she's young, she's competent. And I asked him if he knew of her nurse, because the word had it that she had come also from county. When I mentioned the name Genene Jones, there was silence. And when I repeated the name Genene Jones, he said, the short answer is, it looks like you have a baby killer on your hands. Those were his exact words.
Vinus learned of the many unusual deaths at County Hospital and the internal investigation. The head nurse had compiled a chart listing every case in which a child had died in the PICU that year.
It's basically the LVNs that we're looking at.
A shocking pattern had emerged.
The more you study this, the more you see that
Those who died were most often under the care of one nurse. Her name was Genene Jones. When Pedro Madera was given a near-fatal heparin overdose, Genene Jones was there. When Roberto Sanchez mysteriously deteriorated, Genene Jones was there. When Christopher Hogeda and Lisa Rivera and more than a dozen other babies died in 1981, Genene Jones was there, overseeing each and every case.
For whatever reason, Genene Jones was the eye of the storm.
Vinus and officials at the small rural hospital believed that if Genene Jones was a serial killer, she had to be stopped. First, they had to uncover a weapon. It was not heparin. Wilder's patients were not found bleeding. Instead, these children were brought in limp, lethargic, and suffering respiratory arrest. As a surgeon, Vinus realized the symptoms were similar to those of patients in the OR, patients under the influence of an anesthetic called succinylcholine.
Succinylcholine is a paralytic agent that is used to allow the anesthesiologist to control the airway more easily by relaxing the muscles.
If correct, this would be the perfect murder weapon. Virtually undetectable and a killer.
The patient is awake and unable to move or to breathe. So the patient appears to have had a respiratory arrest, which indeed they do. They just stop breathing.
Across town, Dr. Susan Wilder had suspicions of her own and called the Texas Rangers.
Now, the only other person besides myself who has access to these drugs is my head nurse, Genene Jones.
One of the vials had puncture holes in it.
This is a security seal, and this one has.
She said, I don't know why the puncture holes are in there because we've never used it. I took custody of the bottle and took it to our lab in Austin.
Using a gas chromatograph, the liquid in the vial was tested to determine its chemical contents.
And the results turned out that it was a bottle full of saline solution.
Davis suspected the succinylcholine had been completely used and then replaced with saline.
This became a very frustrating investigation because we felt like we knew what happened. Proving it was going to be something else.
The pressure was on. On September 27th, yet another victim was rushed from Dr. Wilder's office to the local emergency room. The patient was semi-conscious and having trouble breathing. She had been in the hospital before, but pulling a gurney, not riding on one. The patient was not a child. It was Nurse Genene Jones. On September 27, 1982, Genene Jones was rushed to a Texas emergency room. No stranger to hospitals, Jones was a pediatric nurse linked to the mysterious deaths of dozens of babies in and around San Antonio. For more than a year, the crimes had gone unsolved. But Patty McClellan knew her daughter's death was anything but natural.
And then we left the hospital, and as soon as we got in the car, I was just like, I looked at Reed and I told him, I said, they did something to her. He's like, what do you mean? I said, they gave her a shot. She was fine. They gave her a shot, and this happened.
Texas Rangers were on the case, searching for any evidence that might link Jones to murder.
So I went to the Sid Peterson Hospital and found out that she had overdosed and was fixing to be released. They had pumped her stomach and everything to release her.
Who's Jones?
Yeah.
Jones had taken an overdose of anti-anxiety medication after falling under police suspicion and losing her job.
Do you have occasion to order drugs?
But in the presence of law enforcement, she became confident, even cocky, once more.
Does she order drugs also?
Sure.
You could tell right off she had a big ego. She wasn't going to really give you a lot of information. She's denying any part of this.
Are you almost finished?
After interviewing her, I could tell that we were going to have to make a case on her because she wasn't going to give you the time of day.
Proving a case against the once trusted nurse would be difficult. She was clever, but perhaps too clever. Few people knew of or had access to the unusual anesthetic succinylcholine.
I spoke with the anesthesiologist at the hospital and he told me about the drug and said it in a matter of seconds it disperses within the body. And there was no way to detect it.
I do believe you need to look at this.
Although the drug did not show up on standard blood tests, the Texas Rangers refused to give up.
We found out that there was a possibility that a man by the name of Dr. Homestead in Sweden had found a way to detect this drug. The little girl that had died had been dead for approximately 6 months. We told him that, and he said, well, the only way to try it is to exhume the body.
Chelsea McClellan's body was exhumed on May 7, 1983.
We didn't know what condition the baby would be in, being buried for 6 months. You would have thought it was a little doll laying there. It just seemed to be in perfect condition.
The local coroner removed tissue samples, which were packaged and sent to Sweden for testing. Investigators were playing a long shot. The Swedish test was controversial, and most American doctors were skeptical that it could really work. The skeptics conceded when tissue samples came back positive for succinylcholine. There was the proof. Chelsea McClellan was murdered. No longer able to hide behind medical emergencies and disappearing injections, Genene Jones was arrested on May 25, 1983. Some have suggested Jones had Munchausen's by proxy. Adults with this rare and little understood disorder harm children in their care in search of sympathy and attention from doctors and others in positions of authority.
She wanted to become the hero. She wanted to save lives and show these doctors that had criticized her down in San Antonio that she was doing this job here in Kerrville and saving these babies. But she went too far.
Her motives will never be entirely clear. In 1984, Genene Jones was found guilty of murder and injury to a child and sentenced to 159 years in prison. No one will ever know just how many babies fell prey to the ruthless schemes of someone they trusted. A caregiver with a lethal dosage.